Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Asgard here, bringing to you a PTR update. So, these are changes that are happening to the PTR. Not official, but it is highly likely that most of them will go through, or something of similar. But it can change. Now, we have a bunch of unit buffs and unit nerfs. Now, the units that are getting buffed are going to be the Berserker, Hashashins, and the Liao Rangers, while we have nerfs to the Iron Reapers, Rattan Marksmen, and the Wu Wei Mansion Guards. I'll be reading through each of the units one at a time and kind of going through my thoughts. I haven't actually, the PTR doesn't start until Friday, around about 2 o'clock. Now, alright, so again, it's going to be a little bit weird for this thing, so I have it zoomed in so it's easier for me to see, but I mean, yeah. So, Berserkers. They're going to get a reduced basic leadership from 245 to 230. They're going to increase the basic unit size from 8 to 12, increase its damage dealt by 15%, lower required stack for extra health effect of Battle Madness from 10 to 7. Increase the slashing damage after Battle Madness was activated from 20 to 50. That's wrong. Increase the rage getting efficiency by 50% for each point of damage taken, and removed the max limit on the rage that can be obtained from a single attack. Increase the efficiency of accumulating rage when killing units by 100%. Increase basic health by 15%. Fix the description mistake of the skill frenzy. Alright. I'm not entirely sure what they're referring to when they say fix the description mistake of the skill frenzy, because I probably have the interaction has been like basically ingrained, like the difference is ingrained in me. So anyway, leadership reduction makes sense. It's not particularly strong in its own tier, but because of how its unit is designed, it is a highly efficient against units that are weaker than it, especially large size units with individually weak models. The increase of the basic unit size from 8 to 12 is scary, mostly because, I mean, seriously, that's a already 50% increase in efficiency. That's a crazy amount of efficiency. And not only that, and on top of that, we've got an increase of damage dealt by 15%. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but a 15% increase in damage dealt also means that they're pushing. It also means that not only does the total unit output become 50% increase, it also gets multiplied by 15%. Again, which should be should be a scary amount of like should be a scary amount. Um, their damage output should be like at 100 and should be like 172.5 or something. That is basically like I've seen these guys rip apart units in a few seconds, and it's nothing like the Wu Wei, but the the difficulty of killing these guys is way more it's way more terrifying than anything the Wu Wei has to offer, mostly because the individual heal per 5 seconds is much scarier. Now, lower the required stacks for each for extra health effect of Battle Madness. Now, basically, I've measured this before, but it's roughly around 10%. It could be 15, but um, I tried to measure this before. Don't quote me on like how accurately I measured this, but when you used to get 10 stacks from Battle Madness, um, it lasted for like 4.5 seconds, and they would heal for about 10%. So it's roughly around about 2% healing per second, and it was it was moderate. It was a moderate amount. It's faster than It's much faster than people realize, and it's stronger. It's quite strong when all considered. When all considered. Now, you only need 7 stacks to trigger it, which not particularly OP. It just kind of gets it online earlier. It's very minor. It's very minor in the grand scheme of things. Now, this next thing is the thing that also worries me a lot because this is wrong. It says increase the slashing damage after Battle Madness was activated from 20 to 50. The 20 damage here is per stack. Now, it says 250, so this could be an incorrect translation or something. Battle Madness can stack 10 times. Now, whether or not this is true or not, I've never really truly tested this. I assumed it always worked. If it is just 20, no. Well, I guess it wasn't. I guess it didn't really matter. If it isn't, and it actually stacked, they're gonna go from a 200 extra damage to 500 extra damage. Now, that is essentially a 15% increase in damage. um, So that's it. So we're going. So these guys are dealing a lot of damage, and when I mean a lot of damage, I mean so much damage that they're going to. I'm pretty sure each of their attacks are going to hit the 3K mark easily. Before rage, by the way. What that means is if their base damage is 3K, they're hitting so each of their auto attacks. So they have a variation of two to four. Normally, when without range, there's only two. So they hit two targets twice for 3k damage. That means they can drop a model at full stack of Battle Madness. However, they can drop a model every every time they attack. The attacks roughly around about 3 seconds. That's terrifying. The amount of damage that Berserkers are now going to output is enough damage to drop a model per attack cycle. Um, that's basically the same as Iron Reapers. Now, there's a lot of caveats to this, of course, but that's that's really stupid to me. They increase the range gain. Okay, so number 6, I'm I'm not really worried about the max limit on range gain obtained from a single attack. This just this just does not really matter. If they get one-shotted, they get one-shotted, but it's to do with like when the unit gets low and there's only just a couple of units, so they're not damage sharing. So your few units can't gain, it doesn't gain rage efficiently. Now that's uncapped, so people can't just target. People used to be able to target single models of the Berserker and slowly whittle it away, because if they try to spread damage, the damage limit of the rage gain would be too much, and they would not be able to deal enough damage to kill the unit in time. That's getting so there's a lot of logistics here, but the rage gain efficiency now makes it so that the moment they enter battle, they'll instantly get rage. And especially if a single model is being targeted. Now, the problem I've always had with these rage based things is because it doesn't adapt to the number of models in the unit. So if you had a 8 size unit, you would still need to gain as much rage as when you only have a 1 size. So a single model getting damaged, well, a single model gaining rage has to make up the rage bar of 8 models, which again is basically 8 times harder because you're just only one model. With the basic unit size going to 12, it's going to be 50% easier because you're going from 8 to 12, so there's 12 models now, all capable of gaining rage, and you're spreading damage out, of course. And it's going to be 50% easier to gain damage from damage taken, which, remember, this was reduced. I think it was reduced. I think it was reduced last time. I can't remember properly. The efficiency of accumulating rage when killing units by 100% makes it so that killing weak units is going to be much easier for rage accumulation reasons, and I'm worried that that could lead to a lot of snowballing effects if matchups do work out in Berserker's favor, and the amount of damage they're getting already worries me. So that's terrifying. Increase basic health by 15%. They have 18,000 health. That getting buffed to what? If I do rough calculations, it's going to go to 21. It's going to go over 20. Definitely it's going to go over 20,000 health. That's that's not great in the grand scheme of things because they're basically a half-size unit with twice the amount of health. But with all things said, Battle Madness also makes them harder to kill, but their range makes them easier to kill. It's really dumb how this unit is designed and how broken this could be, especially against certain targets of efficiency. Now, I never want tanky, damage dealing, sustain to ever be a combination that is efficient. It has to always be inefficient because you can't have a unit like this be efficient for the leadership. It can't be efficient because if it's efficient, it beats out everything in terms of just like logistics or like the macro level where battle becomes scuffed and there's no way to isolate units. So just simply put, this is going to cause a Berserker explosion. I seriously think this is going to be the third coming of Berserkers because they've already had their release which was crazy insane. They had their second coming when they rearranged the frenzy damage taken from 50 to 35, and the battle madness effect increased to 60 from 50. Well, in max effect increased from 50 to 60. This is just going to be this is probably going to push them over the edge into OP territory again. And for me, they've always been OP. They're still OP for me. They're just going to go into actual meta OP. I don't like the design of the Berserkers because they're really difficult to handle once they're in a state like this, which means that they either revert a lot of things or they're going to have to kill the unit somehow, whether or not increasing the rage damage taken from the 43.5 or the 43 they have currently and push it all the way up to 75 or maybe even 100% at this rate. I'm not even joking when I say that I'm scared of these guys. I'm terrified of what this means and what's coming. Whether or not I'm going to have opportunity of getting some tests done, that's another question. Anyway, moving on to the another unit. I've talked about the Berserkers for a long time. The Hashashins optimize movement actions and optimize the enemy searching logic, giving them priority to attacking ranged units. That's cool logic. It's it's an improvement to things that are really um, not really battle orientated. So it doesn't increase their battle capability. It just increases their battle efficiency, and the it reduces the effort of handling, which is really good because Sashas want to aim for vulnerable targets. So for me, it would be better if Hashashins had it had a priority targeting logic that made it easier for them to target things that things that are important to you. Now, personally, personally, the targeting logic for me would always be units before heroes. And how I would do this is I would have Assassins prioritize units based on how much health they have. Not percentage, actual health. This puts anything low health instantly on the market. They'll just assassinate them. And this again could then be multiplied by leadership. So units with high leadership, low health, instantly targeted. I mean, sorry, like targeting priority. So if the individual unit models are worth a lot of leadership and they have low health, I think that should be the targeting logic for the assassins. Giving it a single type could work out and really be really cool, and I think it's going to work out really cool. But it just simplifies the assassins to be more focused on getting those ranged units, which is not a bad thing. I'm just wondering how they're going to handle how the logic is handled. That's going to make them more optimized. Now, again, assassins are very strong given the context of what they are supposed to do, and logistically they are really difficult to deal with, especially with when you're only trying to deal with them with units. You have to deal with them with heroes, but particular heroes don't have a very easy time dealing with them. Those include longsword. Um, those include longsword, longbow, shortbow. I mean, any like they're just really annoying to deal with. Um, for me, is particularly because they have recovery on every single one of their abilities, and they have a tendency to dodge damage like crazy. But yeah, so they didn't need they didn't need a buff directly. They just needed they just needed more ease to get online. But still, I don't I don't particularly like the Hashashin's mechanic, as in ignoring the or dropping unit um, targeting, like making other units inability to target them. That's always been my real gripe. I've never really liked these kind of disengagement, especially since Conqueror's Blade is 70 to 80% hero. Sorry, 70 to 80% units. About 20% is hero impact, if even. Nowadays, it's like less than 10%. I'm more or less worried about like units killing me than whatever the hero was doing. Alright, now onto the Liao ranges. Increased max movement speed from 10.5 to 12. I have no idea where they got these numbers from because I remember their movement speed being 7.5. I do not know what they're talking about when they increase the max movement speeds from 10.5 to 12, and what is that even in a reference to? Could be the speed buff gained? I have, I frankly have no idea. It's, they're going to be fast. That's if it's not even their base movement speed, it's their max movement speed. So I'm just wondering whether or not units have speed caps that we don't know about. Optimize mobile turning action as well as pathfinding and enemy searching logic. Yeah, instead of reading it out, I'm just gonna go through them one by one. Um, yeah, that just makes it easier for them to hit the target they want if they're not directly in front of them. Just makes, again, how that's optimized really, really just is an AI. I say AI kind of thing. It is not actual artificial intelligence. It's just an algorithm. Reduce the cooldown. Well, I mean, yeah, it is. It is. It is AI technically. Number three, reduce the cooldown of fire lance when using normal attacks from 12 seconds to 18 seconds. Sorry, 12 seconds, 18 seconds to 8 to 10 seconds. 8 to 11 seconds. So big reduction. Um, you're going to see at least you're going to see at least it's a at least a 33% reduction. So you're going to see how this works out because math is really terrible in this case. I think it's a 50% increase on the number of shots if I worked that out correctly. Because conversion of time. Yeah, because I'm reversing percentage. Anyway, um, more shots. So I'm not even particularly worried about the normal shots from the Liao ranges. They're not as wide arcing as the Fire Lancers. The Liao Rangers have this issue where they only shoot at a certain angle in front of them and they get locked in. So I'm just not worried. Oh, wait. If Oh man, that's kind of like a you need to see it. You need to see it kind of thing. If the mobile turning logic as well as pathfinding and enemy searching logic frees up the animation lock that occurs when they fire their lance, that could fix a lot of the usability issues of an inefficiency due to animation. This could make this could make their shots way more deadlier and way more efficient. So we're gonna get some more damage online. Not to mention though, no one uses their basic attacks really. Now number four is an increase in basic attack penetration from 1656 to 1856. So that's a 200 basic armor penetration increase, which is about a 10% damage increase overall, which theoretically actually means a 20% increase in damage efficiency. I have realized that armor penetration is actually probably worth more against high health targets than it is against low health targets. So go figures. How to express that is a ranging value from high to low. Sorry, low to high. So on average, you're going to get probably a 10% increase. Against particular targets, it's going to be about 20%. So, a bit scary. The basic blunt damage goes from 1246 to 1530, which again, that's a 300. Um, okay, let's take a step back. That is 284. That's 284 increase. So that is a very scary 20% increase in basic blunt damage, which will carry forward to all multiplying effects, and that's not good. Because I think the hour ranges already do close to 2.5, probably pressing on the 3K mark. If the 20% does carry through, they will probably be hitting 3K base, and that's not even including the rest of this, which I'll continue on right now. Number 5 increases bludgeon armor penetration by 15% and damage by 20%. Now, again, the armor penetration maximum effect for damage is actually uncapped, but in actual fact, it's probably close to a 7.5 on average, probably maxing out at around about 15%, considering how much armor penetration they have. Again, the more armor penetration you have, the less important it becomes. What did I just pull out of my mouth? Piece of hair or something. The damage increase of bludgeon is very scary, however. Um, I normally base most of my damage numbers off of bludgeon anyway because it's easier to see the damage numbers. These guys are probably going to hit mid 3K at the very least. Not not going to be a downer, but this is a lot of damage. Essentially, bludgeon's going to become just slightly weaker. Logistically, how this works out, um, Liao Range's bludgeon's going to be slightly weaker than brutal sweep, and I say slightly weaker because brutal sweep is base 3.5 and pushes the 4K mark. If my math is correct, Liao Rangers are going to push the 3.5. Definitely going to go into mid. I mean, not mid. Going to definitely push into high 3,000. But it won't break the 4,000 mark base. Which, accounting for their lower unit models and the fact that they're cavalry, um, could easily put them. Actually, I mean, like, considering other things. Anyway, I feel like Liao Rangers with Bludgeon are going to be basically Wu Wei on horseback. That's how I think this is going to work out. Bludgeon doesn't deal CC to heroes, however, so that's a positive. Increase the damage of Devastation by 10%. Devastation has long since been redundant since Bludgeon is essentially way better. Like, way better. I think they're being a little bit conservative with the damage of Devastation and not realizing that Bludgeon is the main damage dealer here. Um, Personally, I think Devastation should have gotten the same damage increase. Probably gotten a cooldown reduction, considering that it is a 30-second skill. Bludgeon's usability is just way higher, and damage output is just way more efficient. But again, could benefit more from number two, the optimized mobile training actions, pathfinding, and enemy search logic, than Devastation might. I mean, sorry, than Bludgeon can. We're gonna have to see. Increased blast accuracy by 50% and armor penetration and damage by 25%. Now, I love to use the used to be called Flame Assault, but it's called Blast here now. Personally, I loved to use it back when it didn't have to target enemy. Now, it didn't work very well. It did not work very well. Very sad. Very sad. I think the Liao Rangers should have access to all four of their abilities. Charge, Bludgeon. In fact, get rid of Charge. They don't need Charge. If they got Bludgeon, Devastation, and Blast. Um, I think having the Charge skill is kind of redundant since Devastation can replace Charge, and Bludgeon, obviously, it's a base ability, so that's cool. And again, Blast is a unique skill as well. Increasing the accuracy by 50% could do with their targeting thing. It does probably not going to reduce the spread. It's going to probably reduce the offset targeting, which is set too high anyway, because honestly, it should have just been 100% accuracy, or just like accuracy so that they're pointing at the thing, and then spread for like a shot. Like, because the shotguns have a spread. I don't know why they did what they did. I think they wanted to make it easier, but again, it's not great. The other thing is that they're still going to get locked up, probably still going to get locked up when you use the blast. They will only take in movement commands of the last movement commands. So as they're moving, they'll try to fire. I think there's a lot of errors. I think there's a lot of errors now with what they did last time, and sometimes they don't shoot at all as they're moving forward, or sometimes they just stop, which is really irritating for me because I got used. I trained myself to use Blast with its shortcomings, and how they changed it just ruined it for me. Now they also have added a new trait, Drains. Each time hitting an enemy, they recover health, and after recovering a certain amount of health, they will grant a buff lasting for 5 seconds when all of their attacks will impose a knockdown effect, and they will gain a speed bonus and damage reduction. Essentially, basically, um, what it feels like, you're going to use Bludgeon, hit a bunch of enemies, and then use Devastation. And this is probably where the max movement speed is coming from. from 10.5 to 12. This could be a movement speed cap of sort, which we're not really familiar with, but it could just be a new thing that they're telling us. So mixing with the speed bonus, they're now also getting a damage reduction. So it's going to be much more efficient when dealing with units that don't have the jump on them. So again, Liao Rangers is just going to be very scary against infantry, particularly, and again with the recovering health, particularly defensive type infantry. I don't like this because it's just more damage, healing effect, plus damage reduction. So you're trying to make a damage dealing tank sustain, and and it's going to impose knockdown effect on all of their abilities, on all of their attacks, which could be scary because it's just like, I mean, it would have been really funny if Blast just knocks down everyone, which I think would be funny. But we have Retiari, the Reta Pistoliers, which is happening. Um, the nerf section's really short. We got the Iron Reapers reduce damage reduction by 20%, fix the incorrect actual damage effect when receiving multiple damages within a short time. Wu Wei mentioned guards after knocking back a hero, it will take at least 7 seconds for Brutal Sweep to knock back. Again, the effect on units remain unchanged. Rattan Marksman reduce the base chance of poison attack by 20%, reduce the slowdown effect of poison weapons, reduce basic slowdown duration by 2%, reduce basic slowdown efficiency by 10%. Now, this could be referring to two different things, because it could be referring to poison weapon, which is a natural rattan poison, or it could be referring to the mastery, which is poison weapon. Now, because of the basic slowdown reduration by 2 seconds, this could be referring to the poison weapons from the mastery because the duration. Because I don't see why they would need to change the duration of poison weapon on Rattan Marksman only. And if it actually hits the poison weapons of all of the Rattans, that's really bad because it's going to be a global. There's going to be a broad nerf to a particular unit that needs a nerf, which is really scary because it just means that it's going to be kind of like a scenario where they hit. It's going to be a scenario where um, certain units are just going to be um, hit in the firing line because yeah, it's just going to be it's just going to be hit just because a unit of related or similar things. Basically it's going to have the Spear Sergeants got hit because Metadons were too strong, kind of scenario. If Rattan Marksman gets hit like this, and it does affect Poison Weapon, the the base Rattan effect, that's not on the Rattan round shields, that's awful. That's absolutely awful. But if it just refers to the Rattan stuff, this is good. It nerfs the Rattans a lot. The base slowdown effect efficiency, not particularly worried about this one in isolation. It's actually everything stacked together because I'm not sure if this is still true. I'm getting some mixed messages when it comes to the poison effect. The poison damage is still the same, but the Rattan Marksman technically shouldn't have any debuff effects. It shouldn't, or maybe it should. This is the same for Rattan Rangers. Previously, Rattan Marksman and Rattan Rangers only had a max stack limit of 1. At some point, it got changed to 3. I don't know why. Um, that's not even true either. Rattan Rangers only have a max stack limit of 3. Rattan marksmen have a varying stack limit of 3 or 5, which is confusing because they should only have a stack limit of 1, and each stack has an innate slow of 10%, which again stacks 7 times. If it stacks additively, that's a 70% slow plus the 35% slow from poison weapon. You're going to be going nowhere. And I think there is a cap on slow, which is set at 90 or something. Going back a little bit, Wu Wei Mansion guards, that's not going to do shit. I think again the 7 seconds is not going to fix their issue as a unit. It's just going to be really annoying for heroes to just get one-shotted with a single knockback still. But if they want to run away from Wu Wei, it's going to be much easier. The 20% reduction on the effect, I think that's really stupid because if it's to the base effect, which is actually 18, that's stupid because it basically essentially becomes literally the toughness doctrine, while they still suffer from the sluggish unit trait. And if it's to the other effect, it's going to be worse than the toughness doctrine, which is hilarious because, again, they get 42% bonus damage reduction versus the 33%, but now it's going to be 22%. But they have a base of 18%. So everything together, I mean, I don't want to talk about doctrines often, but it's just kind of the things that is just really funny to me that they do this and just make it so illogical. I said this before, standardize the effect, don't need to have this bullshit. Make it 30%, make the base effect 30%, even 40% even. Now it's going to be 40% high, going down to 18%. But they can reset back to 40. Iron Reapers are going to go in the dump. This nerf is going to kill Iron Reapers. No joke. Rattan Marksman, efficiency because the poison damage itself is not being affected. Um, it's going to be really efficient against targets that are very difficult to damage, such as Iron Reapers and stuff. The slow effect is going to reduce the impact. So, funnily enough, this makes the longbow better for CC, while Rattan Marksman is still the best in terms of damage efficiency. The poison, the chance of poison attacks also going down by 20%, I think is going to be a logistic nightmare, but overall doesn't really matter when you're not shooting into just a critical mass of units. So the critical mass limit is going to be lower. So you could literally probably run at Rattan Marksman with a single unit now and not all get poisoned to death by the time you get to them. But that was true anyway, just no one would like to do it, and it's probably easier to get to them because no more slowdown effect. Now, I have talked at length about a lot of the unit buffs and nerfs. I could have, and again, these are just my thoughts, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But other than that, my name's Azukai, and have a nice day. That is all for the PTR update for now. Let me try that again. So, I've talked at length about the PTR update, unit buffs to the Berserkers, Hashashins, Liao Rangers, and the nerfs to Iron Reapers, Wu Wei Magic Guards, and Rattan Marksmen. I think the Rattan Marksmen are definitely going to feel like they're in a good spot because people have already coped with them long enough. The Wu Wei Magic Guards is logistically still going to be very strong and oppressive. It's not really, to me, it's not really the effect they have on heroes. It's more or less the kit as a whole that's my issue. but I think people are just going to cope and say that they're fine because people are already saying that they're fine. Iron Reapers are going to get killed. They're going to be worthless. I'm going to be scared of the Liao Rangers. Hashashins, cool logistics update. Berserkers, absolutely terrified. That is a wide range of buffs that is going to definitely send them way over the edge. And I'm not even joking when I think we're going to have the third coming of Berserkers. Liao Rangers, however, could actually see the light of day. Unfortunately, because anti-cavalry options exist, they will be suppressed slightly. So even if they're crazy strong, there's probably going to be ways to deal with them. Not that, not that I like the counter system. I hate the counter system because of how the interactions are forced instead of um, instead of more subtle ways and nuanced. But anyway, that is that is my final thoughts for the PTR update, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But other than that, my name is Sky. Have a nice day. Bye for now.